adventure, intrigue, lost cities, ancient mysteries, and more on this week's episode of East 10 Investigates. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the East 10 Outpost. I'm Cody, and tonight I'm going to be your guide into a subject that I find incredibly fascinating. We're going to be looking at Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma, and a lecture summarized by Manly P. Hall on the subject of forgotten symbolism and the dead language that for many people goes completely unnoticed. But the fact is, it's still alive, hidden and laced in the fabric of the world all around us. There's symbols that we recognize everywhere, immediately. Think about some of the symbols you know. Do any of these evoke any emotion or make you think of anything? For most, you'll realize that a picture is in fact worth 1,000 words, and what they're able to convey in a symbol is far more potent than anything they would be able to write in a paragraph. So, we're going to be looking at this long-lost language because, really, if you think about it, it's the oldest human language we have, and anybody can read it. It's up to you to open your eyes. So, join me as we dive in to Esoteric Symbolism, a forgotten language. First of all, Pike is pretty clear on one thing, and that's symbols are keys. They're a tool, just like a physical key, and they unlock hidden truths and much deeper meanings. And to people who aren't initiated on what the symbols mean, it just may look like a funny design or an interesting shape, but if you've been let in on the secret, well, it opens up an entire locked-away philosophy and much deeper meaning laced within the basic surface level that you're getting just from what the average viewer would see. Let's look at a circle, for example. Simple, right? Yet it's eternity in a single line. No start, no finish. Just pure endless unity. Or a triangle. It's not just geometry, it's about balance, like body, mind, and spirit all working together. Pike's point is that these things aren't static. They're there to make you think, to dig deeper, and to find the big concepts that they're actually pointing to, hiding just beneath the surface. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, this amazing universal language has mostly been forgotten and brushed aside as we focus on more surface level scrolling and texting and, day-to-day speech that really doesn't make us actually think beyond what the letters say on the page we're reading. But it doesn't need to be that way. See, in Pike's Morals and Dogma, he tries to point to this exactly, and if you scroll through my channel, as hard to watch as some of my older videos are because I was getting my footing, and frankly I still am, there's some videos in there where I touch on symbols and their importance a number of times because it really is an important language that you can use to transcend time and space. It's something that, like I said, Pike has pointed to, and I'm going to continue to as long as I make content. But let's take a look at what this actually means and how we can begin to get this lost knowledge back. Manly P. Hall points out in his lecture that Albert Pike is trying to say, hey, we can get this back. It's not just nostalgia, it's about waking up to something that we've forgotten. Symbols connect us to what we can't see, linking us to the wisdom of people who came before. From Egypt to Greece to the Far East, it's what we're chasing after, that long-forgotten knowledge that's really hidden just beyond the surface. There's so many ancient symbols, but where do they all come from?
Pike points to many around the world, like Egypt with its sphinx and pyramids, or Greece with its mystery rituals, and the East with things like the lotus flower, symbolizing enlightenment. In Freemasonry, it all comes together. The square is about living right, the compass keeps you in check, and the all-seeing eye hints at something bigger watching over all of us. These things aren't just made-up ideas, they're pieces of a much bigger puzzle, handed down through time. Pike shows how every symbol ties back to something ancient, something shared across all cultures, like a universal thread connecting your oldest ancestors right back to you, here, now, in the present day, and it will continue on infinitely as long as we don't lose touch with this. So the real question everybody wants to know, why so secretive and esoteric? It makes people immediately distrustful. Well, fortunately, Pike has an answer for that. See, it's not actually about being secretive. See, the information isn't literally held behind a lock and a key. No, it's a metaphorical one, not a literal one, and anybody can access it, but not everybody will, and that's just the point. See, it's meant to keep the good stuff a little bit out of reach, just like you do with toddlers, right? So if you keep it just a little bit out of reach, you're putting in a bit of a natural filter and making people do a little bit of work for it. And that kind of acts, like I say, as a filter to make sure the right people are stepping forward and approaching that ancient knowledge, and then will be the right stewards to pass it on to the next ones. See, it's, like I say, not hard to get. I've come across it without any official mentors, though there have been people that have been kind enough to answer questions for me and help me along the way, and I'm grateful for that. But all of the information is readily available for people who are curious enough to look. And that's just my thing, isn't it? Always being curious. So, if this has interested you at all, I encourage you to check out Pike's book, because this is only just the beginning and the briefest of summaries on a summary itself from one of Manly P. Hall's lectures, which I will link to down below. But let's get back on point for now. This information is available. You just have to do a little bit of digging. It's that easy. And in case you're not yet understanding the significance of symbolism depth, or your appetite isn't all the way wet and you don't fully buy into why it's important, let's take a look at some of the specific examples that Pike himself points to and get a little bit into the weeds of the actual depth that lies in some of these symbols just beneath the surface. One example is the double-headed eagle from the Scottish Rite. It's looking both ways, east and west, tying together opposites like spirit and matter, past and future, all in one moment. Then you have the pentagram. Forget about the spooky connotations and bad vibes that have been applied to it. It's actually a person standing tall, arms out, head up, like a mini version of the universe. And the pillars in a Masonic lodge, well, they're about strength and stability, paired up like Joaquin and Boaz. They show how opposites can balance out. These aren't random symbols they've picked, they're actually packed with meaning, waiting for the right keymaster to come along and unlock it, and take the deeper knowledge waiting within. So I think what Pike and I are trying to drive at here is symbols aren't just relics of the past, ancient vices that no longer have any meaning or relevance. No, they couldn't be further from that. Really, symbols are a time capsule, a letter sent directly from our ancestors straight to us. And if you have the eyes to see it, the ears to hear it, and the brain to process it, Well, symbols have a lot to say. A beautiful and ancient story that transcends time and space, and is something you can use to better your own life, and honestly, the lives of people around you. And in the end, hopefully make the world a little bit of a better place than how you showed up and found it. That's the goal, isn't it? So, hopefully, this has inspired you to dig a little deeper. And until next time, my friends, always be indomitable in your quest for knowledge. Don't let anything ever stop you, even when the journey gets a little bit rough. Keep digging, because there's usually treasure waiting for those who are willing to find it. Stay curious, my friends.